Sign the papers or leave, my husband taunted, waving the settlement papers in the home I bought. He thought kicking me out would break me. I smiled, signed, and walked away. Just 12 hours later, his lawyer shouted at him, "You idiot, do you know what you just did?" He sat in my chair, looking utterly ridiculous, but the words coming out of his mouth were anything but funny. My husband, Liam, was trying to rob me blind, right there in my own home, before I'd even had my morning coffee. It was 7 a.m., the sun barely peeking through the shutters, casting sleepy shadows across the carpet. I'd just finished my run, still in my leggings, expecting a peaceful start to my workday. Instead, I walked into an ambush. "You can't be serious, Liam," I managed, my voice barely a whisper. I wasn't scared, I was just stunned by the sheer audacity. He smirked, leaning back in my custom leather executive chair, the one I'd bought with my own bonus. He laced his fingers behind his head, wearing the silk robe I'd bought him for Christmas, a robe that cost more than my first car. "I am deadly serious. Marriage is a partnership, Chloe. 50-50. But since you've been so difficult about my business ventures lately, I think it's time we restructure." He slid a document across the mahogany desk, a family heirloom. "This is a post-nuptial agreement. It grants me title to the house and a 50% controlling interest in your design firm. It's only fair, considering all the emotional support I've provided you." Emotional support? I almost laughed. This was the man who forgot my birthday 3 years straight, who called my career a cute little hobby. And now he was talking about support? "And if I don't sign?" I asked, walking slowly toward the desk. "Then I file for divorce," he said, his eyes gleaming with a predatory light. "And I will drag it out. I will freeze your assets. I will ruin your reputation in this town. My lawyer, Marcus, says I have a very strong case for spousal support. I've become accustomed to a certain lifestyle, you see. But if you sign this, we stay married. We work it out. I just need security." Security? This wasn't security, this was a heist. He wanted the estate my grandmother left me. He wanted the company I built from the ground up while he played golf. I looked down at the papers. They looked hastily drafted, probably by that busbench lawyer he played poker with. Transfer of deed, assignment of equity, the words swam. He truly thought he had me cornered, believed I was still the woman who'd nodded and smiled for 4 years to keep the peace. He thought I was afraid to lose him. I looked at him, really looked at him. The graying hair I once found distinguished now just looked tired. The softness around his jaw spoke of too much scotch, too little work. And then, the cruelty in his eyes. "So, it's the house or the marriage?" I asked, picking up a heavy fountain pen from the desk. "It's about fairness, Chloe," he corrected, but his gaze darted to the pen in my hand with hungry anticipation. "Sign it, and we go back to normal. Don't, and I'll make sure you lose everything anyway." I uncapped the pen. The gold nib glinted. My heart should have been racing. I should have been screaming, throwing things. But a strange, icy calm settled over me. It was the calm of a surgeon before the first cut. "Okay, Liam," I said softly. "You win." His eyes widened. He hadn't expected it to be this easy. He leaned forward, practically salivating. "Good girl. You're making the right choice." I bent over the desk. I didn't hesitate. I signed my name, Chloe Hayes, with a flourish on the last page. The ink was dark, permanent. "There," I said, capping the pen with a deliberate click. Liam snatched the papers, scanning the signature as if checking for a trick. A look of pure triumph washed over his face. "See, was that so hard?" "No," I said. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my house keys, and dropped them onto the mahogany desk. They landed with a heavy thud. Then I slid the platinum band off my finger, the ring I bought myself because his card was maxed out. I placed it next to the keys. What are you doing? Liam asked, his brow furrowing. You said sign or get out, I replied, my voice steady. I signed. Now I'm getting out. Wait, you don't have to leave right this second, he stammered, confused by my lack of tears. We can have breakfast. Celebrate our new arrangement. Enjoy the house, Liam, I said, turning on my heel. It's everything you ever wanted. I walked out of the office, past the hallway lined with photos of my ancestors, and out the front door. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't look back. I just got in my car and drove away. As I pulled out of the driveway, I checked the rearview mirror. Liam stood at the window, papers pressed against the glass, grinning like he'd won the lottery. He had no idea. He had no idea he'd just signed his own death warrant. The door to the Four Seasons suite clicked shut behind me, and the silence was heavy, pressing against my eardrums. It wasn't the silence of peace. It was the silence of a life detonating in slow motion. I dropped my purse on the marble entryway table and walked into the living area. The suite was impeccable, beige tones, fresh orchids, a view of the Denver skyline that usually made me feel powerful. Today, it just felt cold. I sat on the velvet sofa, staring at my hands. They weren't shaking. Why weren't they shaking? I just walked away from my home, my marriage, and, on paper, my entire fortune. I should be hysterical, calling my mother, crying about how my husband had lost his mind. But the hysteria didn't come. Instead, a deep, hollow ache settled in my chest. It wasn't regret for the house or the money, I knew where those stood. It was a mourning for the time. For years. I'd given that man 4 years of my life. I'd folded his laundry, listened to his endless, nonsensical business pitches, hosted his dreadful family, and excused his rudeness to waiters. I had shrunk myself to make him feel big. I poured a sparkling water at the minibar. My reflection in the mirror looked tired. My eyes were puffy, and lines around my mouth hadn't been there when I met Liam. You did it, Chloe, I whispered to the empty room. You finally pulled the trigger. My phone buzzed. A smart home notification, motion detected. Living room. I knew I shouldn't look. It was emotional self-sabotage. But I picked up the phone. The feed loaded in crisp HD. There was Liam, pacing in front of the fireplace, a glass of my best scotch in his hand. He looked ecstatic, gesturing wildly, laughing. I tapped the listen button. Yeah, she just walked out, Liam's tinny voice said through the speaker. Left the keys and everything. I told you, Marcus, she's weak. Couldn't handle the pressure. The house is mine. The business? Oh yeah. I'll be going into the office tomorrow to introduce myself as the new CEO. It's a gold mine, and she's been running it like a charity. He took a swig. No, she won't fight it. She's probably crying at her sister's place right now. She loves me too much to drag this through court. I've got her exactly where I want her. I turned off the screen, my knuckles white from gripping the phone. She loves me too much. That was his entire strategy. He banked everything on the assumption that I was a desperate, aging woman who would pay any price to keep a husband. He thought my dignity had a price tag, and he just bought it with a threatening legal document. I walked to the window, watching the busy street below. Cars rushed by, lives moved forward. The world didn't stop because my marriage imploded. An email notification popped up, subject, the package is ready. Body, Chloe, I've compiled the files you asked for. Forensic accountant finished at 4 a.m. You were right. It's worse than we thought. Send to Eleanor now or wait? I typed one word, wait. I wasn't ready to drop the hammer just yet. Not until the ink was dry on Liam's little victory lap. I sat back down, closed my eyes, and let the memories wash over me. Before the lawyers, before the betrayal, before the hatred, I needed to remember why. I needed to remember the woman I was before Liam Wilson charmed his way into my life and tried to dismantle it brick by brick. It went back to the beginning, to a charity gala 4 years ago. I was 48, single for a decade. My business, Chloe Hayes Interiors, had just landed a huge contract. Professionally, I was on top of the world. Personally, I was lonely. I wouldn't admit it to anyone, but going home to an empty 6-bedroom estate every night was starting to wear on me. I was debating a vintage trip to Sonoma at the silent auction when a voice rumbled behind me. You know, looking at that painting makes me feel like I need glasses, and I have perfect vision. I turned. He was tall, perfectly tuxedoed, with that silver fox look. It's abstract expressionism, I said, smiling politely. It's supposed to challenge your perspective. It challenges my wallet, he laughed. I'm Liam. Liam Wilson. I'm in investments. Investments is a vague word. I should have asked what kind, asked for a business card, a tax return. But I didn't. I was charmed. Chloe Hayes, I replied. The Chloe Hayes. He raised an eyebrow. The one who turned the old grain silo into that incredible art gallery downtown? I'm a huge fan. You have an eye for structure that is rare. He knew my work. He complimented my intelligence, not just my dress. That was the first hook. We talked all evening. He was attentive, funny, seemingly wealthy. He spoke of Europe, his startups, vintage cars. He made me feel interesting, seen. Later, at the hotel bar, when the check came, he patted his pockets with mock horror. Oh God, I must have left my wallet in my other jacket. I changed so quickly for this event. Chloe, I am mortified. It's fine, I said, handing the bartender my black card. It's just drinks. No, it's not fine, he insisted, grabbing my hand. His skin was warm. I owe you dinner tomorrow night. The French place on 4th. Please let me make it up to you. I agreed. Of course, I agreed. The next 3 months were a whirlwind, what psychologists call love bombing. But at the time, it felt like a fairy tale. Flowers every Monday, weekend trips in my convertible because his Jaguar was in the shop. Long midnight texts telling me I was the most beautiful woman he'd ever met. He moved in by month 4. Why maintain 2 households, he'd said. I'm between leases, looking for the perfect penthouse. I want to take care of you, Chloe. You've worked so hard. You deserve a partner who carries the load. Carries the load. The irony could cut glass. About 6 months in, I tried discussing finances, wanting to merge accounts for household expenses. Liam's face darkened for a second, a flash of irritation. Baby, why involve lawyers and accountants? Doesn't that kill the romance? I trust you. Don't you trust me? I have assets, Chloe, he whispered, stocks, crypto, offshore holdings, but they're tied up in a liquidity event. Once that clears, I'm buying you a villa in Provence. Until then, can't we just BS? He made me feel cheap for asking, like a gold digger. So I stopped. I let him use my secondary credit card for groceries, which quickly became designer suits and golf clubs. I let him redecorate his home office on my dime. I ignored the red flags because I wanted the fantasy. I wanted to be the power couple he described. I didn't see that I was the power, and he was just the couple. Then came his family. That's when the fantasy cracked, revealing the rot. If Liam was a leech, his mother Brenda and sister Heather were the swamp he crawled out of. I met them 2 weeks after our quick courthouse wedding, a small ceremony Liam insisted on to prevent creditors from finding him. But once the ring was on, the family appeared like vultures. They arrived for a weekend visit that lasted a month. Brenda, a woman in her 70s, wore too much leopard print and smoked slim cigarettes on my non-smoking sofa. Heather, in her 30s, divorced twice, perpetually sneering about how the world wronged her. "So, this is the place," Heather said, dropping her bags on my antique Persian rug. "No, hello." She just assessed the square footage. "Must be nice to have old money." "Some of us actually have to work." "I work very hard, Heather," I said, forcing a smile. "I run a company." "Decorating," she scoffed. "Picking out pillows." Liam actually laughed. Now, Heather, Chloe is very talented. She picked out this whole house, didn't she?" They settled in, and the nightmare began. My sanctuary became a hostel. The fridge was raided. My expensive face creams appeared half-empty in the guest bathroom. One evening, over a roast I'd paid a caterer for, because Brenda complained my cooking was too healthy, the topic of money came up explicitly. "Liam tells me you're not helping Heather with her situation," Brenda said, stabbing a potato. "I'm sorry, what situation?" I asked, putting down my wine glass. "Her car," Liam cut in, grabbing the wine. "I told you. Her transmission blew. She can't get to her job interviews." Heather didn't have job interviews. She scrolled Facebook all day. "I didn't know," I said. "How much is the repair?" "Oh, it's totaled," Heather said through a mouthful of beef. "I need a new one." "Liam said you guys were looking at a new SUV. I could just take the BMW." "My BMW? My X5 for client meetings?" "I am not giving away my car," I said, my voice rising. Liam placed a heavy, silencing hand on my arm. "Honey, don't be selfish. We have 3 cars. You hardly drive the convertible in winter. Family helps family. That's what I love about you, your generosity." He weaponized my own virtue. "Say no, I'm the stingy rich witch. Say yes, I'm a doormat." "We can discuss this alone," I said stiffly. "Alone?" Brenda cackled. "Did you hear that, Liam? She wants to charge her sister-in-law interest. Unbelievable. After all the emotional support we've given you." There was that phrase again. Emotional support. Their currency, but the account was always empty. A week later, the breaking point. I came home early to find Brenda and Heather in my master bedroom. My jewelry box was open. Heather held my grandmother's emerald brooch to her chest in the mirror. "What are you doing?" I demanded. Heather jumped. Brenda didn't flinch. "Just looking, Chloe. Relax. You have so much stuff. You probably forgot you even had this. It would look lovely on Heather for her date tonight." "Get out," I said, shaking. "Get out of my room." When I told Liam, he sighed as if I were the unreasonable one. "They're just curious, babe. They've never seen nice things. You made them feel like thieves." Mom was crying in the guest room. "They were going to take it, Liam." "You don't know that," he snapped. "You're so paranoid about your precious things. People matter more than things, Chloe. Try to remember that." I ended up buying Heather a used Honda just to get them to leave. I told myself it was the price of peace. Liam kissed me, told me I was the best wife. But watching them drive away, a knot formed in my stomach. They didn't see a family member. They saw a host organism. And Liam? He wasn't protecting me, he was holding the door open for them. Liam's liquidity events never happened. 6 months stretched into years. Every time I brought up his contribution to household expenses, there was an excuse: market down, regulators, partners dragging feet. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. Admitting he was a liar meant admitting I was a fool. My pride was a heavy thing to carry. But truth has a nasty habit of surfacing, usually in a paper trail. It happened on a Tuesday. I had a cold and was working from home. Liam had left early, claiming a high-stakes negotiation with angel investors. He wore the charcoal Armani I bought him for our anniversary. The mail arrived around noon. Usually, Liam intercepted it, rushing to the mailbox. He claimed he was waiting for sensitive contract documents. Today, he wasn't there. I sorted through the pile. Junk, magazines, a pool bill. Then a thick American Express envelope. Addressed to Liam, but for the black card account, my account, where I was primary, he an authorized user. I rarely checked paper statements, autopay was set up. I was busy running a multi-million-dollar company, not micromanaging his grocery spending. But this envelope was heavy. Too heavy for groceries. I slit the top. 6 pages. I sat at the kitchen island, my tea forgotten. My eyes scanned the lines. My breath hitched. The Sapphire Club, New Orleans, $1,200. Caesar's Palace Suite, $1,800. Rolex Boutique, $12,500. Delta First Class, 2 tickets, $3,400. The dates didn't match his stories. New Orleans was when he was supposedly at a spiritual retreat in Aspen. The Rolex was from 3 days ago, my birthday, when he gave me a card and said his gift was on back order. 2 tickets to Denver for next weekend. I felt sick. Not the cold sick, but a deep, visceral nausea. I logged into my banking portal. I dug deeper. Cash withdrawals, $500 here, $800 there, ATM fees at casinos, nightclubs. Then, his business deposits. 0. In 2 years of marriage, Liam Wilson had contributed exactly $0 to our joint account. I'd been funding a playboy lifestyle for a man who claimed to be an empire builder. I heard the garage door open. Liam was home early. I scrambled to shove the papers back into the envelope, then stopped. Why was I hiding? I was the victim. I left the statement spread out. Liam walked in, loosening his tie. He looked flushed, happy. Chloe! Great news! Meeting was a home run. They're talking 7-figure injection by next quarter. He stopped when he saw me. Saw the papers. Saw my face. What's that? He asked, his smile faltering. This, I said, pointing to the Rolex line item. Is your 7-figure injection. Who is it for, Liam? Because it certainly isn't on my wrist. He froze. I saw the panic, then the mask slid back. He sighed, a sound of immense disappointment. You opened my mail? That's a federal crime, Chloe. It's my account. I shouted, slamming my hand down. I pay the bill. Who did you go to New Orleans with? Who are you going to Denver with? He walked to the fridge, grabbed a water, taking his time. Gaslighting requires patience, and he was a master. The Rolex is an investment piece, Chloe. To flip it, you have to spend money to make money. And New Orleans? That was a bachelor party for a potential client. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd get jealous and irrational, like you are right now. And the 2 tickets to Denver? I challenged, my voice shaking. My assistant, he said smoothly. I hired a virtual assistant to help with logistics. She's meeting me there to handle paperwork. You don't have a business. I screamed. You don't have clients. You have nothing, Liam. You are nothing but a leech. His face went cold. He set the water down. Careful, Chloe. You sound like a shrew. Is this really how you talk to your husband, the man who loves you? I'm trying to build a future for us, and you're obsessing over pennies. $12,000 is not pennies. It is to people who think big, he sneered. Maybe that's your problem. You have a small mind. You're a decorator, not a visionary. He walked out, leaving me with the evidence. He didn't apologize. He didn't beg. He made me feel crazy for caring about theft. That night, he slept in the guest room. I didn't sleep at all. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, realizing he wasn't just lazy or unsuccessful. He was dangerous. He believed his own lies. And I needed to know who was sitting in the other seat on that flight to Denver. I didn't cancel the Denver trip. Instead, I hired a private investigator, Mr. Anderson. Expensive, discreet, terrifyingly efficient. I gave him the flight details, said I wanted pictures. 3 days later, while Liam was supposedly closing deals in Laguna Beach, Mr. Anderson sent a Dropbox link. I sat in my office, door locked, and clicked. The photos were high resolution. Liam, wearing the linen shirt I bought him, laughing at a pool bar. Next to him, draped like a cheap accessory, a girl. No older than 25. Blonde, incredibly fit, wearing a bikini that looked more like dental floss. Subject, Cassandra Davis, age 24. Personal trainer at Ironclad Gym. Current residence, studio apartment in Midtown. Rent 3 months overdue. I scrolled. Champagne. Kissing. In one photo, he applied sunscreen to her back with a familiarity that made my stomach churn. But the real knife to the heart was the video file. Mr. Anderson got close enough at dinner to record audio. The restaurant was noisy, but the voices were clear. I put on headphones. She's so annoying, baby, Liam's voice. She watches every penny now. I had to fight just to get the limit raised for this trip. When are you going to leave her? Cassandra's voice was high, nasal, whining. You said by summer. I'm tired of living in that dump. I want the big house with the pool. I can't just leave, Cass, Liam explained, as if to a toddler. If I leave now, I get nothing. We signed a prenup, remember? I get 0. I paused the video. A prenup. We did have one. The one smart thing I'd done, insisted upon by my father before he passed. It protected my premarital assets. Liam signed it begrudgingly 4 years ago. I pressed play. So, what do we do? Cassandra asked. We break her, Liam said. His voice dropped, becoming sinister. I'm working on it. Making her life miserable. My lawyer says if I can prove she's mentally unstable or coerce her into signing a postnup that voids the original, we're golden. I just need to push her, make her feel like the marriage failing is her fault. She's desperate to be loved. If I threaten to leave, she'll pay anything to make me stay. And then we get the house. We get the company. We get everything. And we kick the old hag out to the curb. I ripped the headphones off. Old hag, break her, coerce her. I couldn't breathe. The air felt too thin. I walked to the window, pressing my forehead against the cool glass. For 4 years, I thought I was married to an irresponsible, selfish man. But this was predation. I wasn't a wife, I was a target. He was literally plotting to drive me insane or desperate enough to sign away my life's work so he could move his gym rat mistress into my grandmother's estate. I saw my reflection. Tears streamed down my face. But beneath them, I saw something else. The woman who built an empire in a male-dominated industry. The woman who navigated recessions, difficult clients, contract disputes. Liam thought I was weak, desperate for affection. He was about to find out the old hag knew how to fight. I wiped my face. I picked up the phone. Not to call Liam, not to scream. I dialed a number I hadn't used in years. "Eleanor," I said when the voice answered. "It's Chloe. I need you. And I need you to be the shark everyone says you are." "Chloe. Is everything okay?" Eleanor's voice was warm but sharp. "No," I said, my voice hardening into steel. "My husband is trying to steal my estate. I want to take him down legally, financially, and completely. When can we meet?" Eleanor Vance wasn't just a divorce lawyer, she was a force of nature in a Chanel suit. Her 40th floor office overlooked the city, and she charged $900 an hour. She was worth every penny. I sat opposite her, the investigator's report and audio transcription spread on her glass desk. Eleanor read in silence, her expression unreadable behind designer glasses. Occasionally, she circled something with a red pen. Finally, she looked up. "He's an amateur," she stated flatly. "A greedy, stupid amateur. But amateurs can be dangerous because they don't know the rules." "He wants me to sign a postnup," I said. "He told his mistress he's going to pressure me into voiding the prenup." "Of course he is," Eleanor leaned back. "Because under the current prenup, he walks away with nothing but his clothes and whatever's in his personal account, which, according to this forensic report, is zero. He needs you to voluntarily give him the assets." "So, I just say no?" "We could," Eleanor tapped her pen. "We could file for divorce today on grounds of adultery. We have the proof. You'd win. He'd get kicked out." "That's not enough," I cut in, anger flaring. "Eleanor, he humiliated me. He brought his family into my home to steal from me. He spent my money on her. He called me an old hag and plotted to break me mentally. I don't just want a divorce. I want him to hurt. I want him to feel the panic I felt when I saw those bank statements." Eleanor smiled. It was a terrifying smile. "I was hoping you'd say that." She pulled a file. "Do you remember 2 years ago when you reorganized your business structure? You moved the house and the majority of your liquid assets into the Hayes Family Trust?" "Yes," I nodded. "For tax purposes. And do you remember," she continued, "that because Liam was your spouse, we needed him to sign a waiver acknowledging that those assets were moving into a trust where you were the sole beneficiary? He signed a stack of papers that day." I remembered. He didn't read any of them. He was too busy playing Angry Birds. "Exactly," Eleanor's eyes gleamed. "He signed a spousal waiver of interest. Basically, he formally acknowledged, with a notary present, that the house and the company are trust property, not marital property. He has zero claim to them. None. Even if you burn the prenup, the trust protects them. He doesn't know that." I realized. He thinks the house is still in my name. He thinks he's a legal genius because he watches Suits. Eleanor scoffed. "Now, here's the beautiful part. If he attempts to claim ownership of trust property, knowing he has waived his rights, he is committing fraud. But we need him to commit to the act. We need him to demand the specific assets he has already waived." "He's going to present me with a postnup," I said, seeing the plan. "He's going to list the house and the company. If you sign a document giving him the house," Eleanor said slowly, "you are essentially giving him nothing because you personally don't own the house. The trust does. You can't give away what you don't hold title to as an individual." "His document will be worthless, but he will think he won," I whispered. "He will think he won," Eleanor agreed. "And he will act on it. He will try to take possession. He might try to sell it or borrow against it. And the moment he tries to exercise ownership over trust assets, that's when we nail him, not just for divorce, but for attempted fraud and extortion." She slid a piece of paper toward me. "This is the plan. It requires you to be an actress, Chloe. You have to let him think his plan is working. You have to let him bully you. You have to let him present those papers. And then I sign them, I finished. You sign them, Eleanor nodded. And you walk away. You give him the rope. And we let him hang himself. I looked at the city below. It was a risky game. It required me to endure his cruelty a little longer. But the thought of the look on his face, the moment he realized he had played himself, was too sweet to resist. Draw it up, I said. I'm ready to put on the performance of a lifetime. The week leading up to the ultimatum was the longest of my life. I had to live with a man I despised, share a bed with a man who smelled like another woman's cheap perfume, and pretend I was falling apart. I stopped wearing makeup. I let the house get a little messy. I'd accidentally leave bills on the counter, then cry when he asked. I'm just so stressed, Liam, I sobbed one evening over a burnt dinner. I feel like I'm losing control of everything. The business is hard. The house is too much work. He ate it up. He'd rub my back with fake sympathy and say, maybe you need to simplify, babe. Let me take some of the burden. We need to secure our future so you can relax. I also planted bait. I left a folder on my desk labeled Asset Valuation 2024. Inside, fake documents showing the house appreciated to $4 million, the business with $2 million in liquid cash. I saw him checking the folder when he thought I was in the shower. I watched through a crack as his eyes widened, scanning the numbers. He pulled out his phone, snapped pictures. Marcus says we need to move fast, I heard him whisper on the phone in the garage later. She's cracking. She's talking about selling the business and moving to an ashram or something. We can't let her sell. I need that equity. Greed, I thought. Greed makes you stupid, Liam. Finally, the night before the ultimatum, he came home with the brown leather briefcase he bought to look important. He set it down by the door like a weapon. We need to talk in the morning, Chloe, he said, his voice grave. I've been doing a lot of thinking about us, about how to fix this. Okay, I said, making my voice tremble. Whatever you say, Liam. That brings us back to the moment in the office. The moment I signed the papers and walked out of that house, leaving my keys and ring. I didn't drive aimlessly. I drove straight to Eleanor's office. He took the bait, I told her, walking in. Did he sign? She asked. He made me sign. And then he countersigned. He has the documents. Perfect. Eleanor picked up her phone. I'm initiating the eviction protocol and sending a courier to the bank to freeze the joint accounts. Not that there's much in them, but it's the principle. What about the house? I asked. He's there now. He thinks it's his. Technically, Eleanor smiled, he is trespassing, but let's give him his night of glory. Let him host his little victory party. The higher he climbs, the harder the fall. I checked my phone. Smart home notifications rolled in, front door unlocked. Thermostat set to 68. Music system activated. Then a new one, access code created. Guest Cassandra. He hadn't even waited an hour. He'd moved her in. Brought her to the house. Good, Eleanor said, my voice cold. That just adds to the narrative of emotional distress for the judge. Keep the footage. I sat in Eleanor's office, watching the live feed. Cassandra walked around my living room, touching my sculptures, putting her feet on my white sofa. Liam poured my vintage Bordeaux into 2 glasses. They toasted, they laughed, they kissed. In my home. It took every ounce of restraint not to drive back and burn the place down. But I waited. I waited because tomorrow morning, the sheriff was coming. Tomorrow morning, the reality of the trust would hit them like a freight train. Go to the Four Seasons, Chloe, Eleanor said gently. Get some sleep. Turn off the phone. Tomorrow is going to be a very busy day. I can't turn it off, I said, watching Liam carry Cassandra up the stairs toward my master bedroom. I need to see it. I need to remember this anger because when he calls me tomorrow begging, I need to remember exactly why I am taking him down. I closed the phone. The trap was sprung. The rat was inside. Now, all I had to do was wait for the snap. The screen on my phone was small, but the betrayal was broadcast in 4K. I sat in the darkness of my hotel suite, the glow illuminating my face, watching the nightmare unfold. It was 8 p.m., barely 12 hours since I'd walked out my front door. Liam hadn't wasted a second. My living room, usually a sanctuary of quiet elegance, was packed. Not a few friends having wine, it looked like a fraternity mixer. At least 20 people, mostly strangers, probably Cassandra's friends or Liam's golf buddies. The music was loud, I could see the bass vibrating my ficus tree. But it was the sight of Liam that made my blood run cold. He was standing on my coffee table. The table I imported from Italy, a piece of travertine older than this country. He wore his suit pants and an unbuttoned shirt, holding a bottle of wine high in the air. I zoomed in. Chateau Margaux 1982. A bottle my father gave me on my 40th birthday, telling me to save it for supreme happiness. It was worth about $2,000. Liam was pouring it into red plastic solo cups. To the new chapter. Liam bellowed, his voice distorted but painfully audible. To taking what is yours. To being the king of the castle. The crowd cheered. Cassandra was right next to him, laughing. She wore my silk kimono, the one from Morocco, over her clothes like a party favor. Drunk, she stumbled, grabbed a cup of the precious wine, and chugged it like cheap beer. He's destroying it, I whispered to the empty room. He's literally consuming my life. Then Liam pulled out his phone. I watched on the security feed as he held it up. My own phone buzzed, Liam Wilson is live on Facebook. I switched apps. There he was, live streaming to the world. What's up, everyone? Liam shouted into the camera, face flushed and sweaty. Just wanted to give you a tour of the new HQ for Wilson Global Enterprises. Yeah, we finally got rid of the dead weight. Sometimes you gotta cut the anchors to let the ship sail, right? He panned the camera around, showing off my art, my furniture, my view. Look at this place, he boasted. This is what happens when you have vision. My ex, well, soon-to-be ex, she didn't get it. She wanted to play it safe. But me? I'm a risk-taker. And look where it got me. He pulled Cassandra into the frame. She giggled, kissed his cheek. Say hi to the future, baby. Hi, she squealed. We're gonna redo the kitchen, right, Liam? All this wood is so old-fashioned. Whatever you want, babe, Liam promised. It's our house now. Comments rolled in. Most were from his sycophantic friends. Congrats, bro. Finally getting what you deserve. Leveling up. But I also saw comments from our mutual acquaintances, wives of his golf buddies, neighbors. Wait, isn't that Chloe's house? Did Chloe move out? This is awkward. He was documenting his own demise. Public, time-stamped evidence of his looting. Every sip of that wine, every unauthorized guest, every claim of ownership was another nail in his legal coffin. A vibration of pure rage started in my toes, working its way up. It wasn't the sad, heavy grief of the morning. It was a hot, sharp, energizing anger. He wasn't just stealing, he was mocking. He was dancing on the grave of our marriage before the body was even cold. He climbed down from the table, nearly knocking over a Ming vase. All right, listen up, he shouted. The pool is open. Who wants to swim? A roar of approval. I watched as people started stripping down, running toward the sliding glass doors to my pool area. I closed the app. I couldn't watch them defile the water. I walked to the desk in my hotel room. I had been waiting, hesitating, perhaps out of lingering mercy or shock. But mercy was gone. The sight of that 1982 Margaux being poured into a solo cup had killed the last shred of empathy I had for Liam Wilson. I opened my laptop. Ideally, I would have waited until morning to start the financial execution. But Liam wanted to play king of the castle tonight. Fine. Let's see how the king rules when the treasury is empty. I cracked my knuckles, opened the spreadsheet Eleanor had prepared, and logged into the administration portal for my life. Time to turn off the lights. The screen glowed with the cold blue light of vengeance. I'd laid everything out systematically, a digital firing squad ready to execute Liam's lifestyle. I wasn't just angry, I was methodical. This is what Liam never understood about me. He thought my success was luck or inheritance. He didn't understand that I built a company because I understood logistics, leverage, and details. Step 1: Credit cards. I logged into American Express. There was Liam's supplementary card. Balance: $14,200 for this month alone. I clicked active. Action: suspend. Reason: lost/stolen. I didn't just want it declined, I wanted it flagged. The next time he swiped, I wanted the merchant to look at him like a criminal. Confirm. Status: suspended. Next, the joint checking account. He used it for business expenses, really, just lunches and golf fees. I transferred the entire balance, mostly my money anyway, into my personal savings, leaving exactly $5. Just enough to keep the account open so he could see the emptiness. Then, the services. I pulled up the BMW leasing portal. Lease in my name, Liam as primary driver. He'd missed the last 2 payments, which I usually covered to avoid late fees. Not today. I called the after-hours support line. Platinum status, so a human answered immediately. "This is Chloe Hayes," I said, calm. "I'm looking at the lease for the X7. I'd like to report unauthorized possession. The vehicle is no longer in my custody, and the driver is refusing to return it. I am terminating the lease effective immediately. Please initiate the repossession protocol." "Certainly, Miss Hayes. Since the vehicle has GPS tracking, we can dispatch a recovery team within the hour. Do we have your permission to retrieve it from the driveway?" "You have my enthusiastic permission," I said. "And please don't ring the doorbell. Just take it." Step 4: Utilities. This was the pettiest move, and I savored it. Electricity and water were essential, I couldn't cut those off instantly. But the luxuries? I logged into the cable and internet provider, cancel service. Streaming services, Netflix, HBO, Hulu, Spotify. Change password. Wine cellar climate control app, system off. Finally, the smart home hub. I watched the security feed one last time. The party was in full swing. Liam by the pool, laughing, drink in hand. Music blasting. I opened the smart home admin panel. I had administrator privileges. Liam only had guest access, though he didn't know it. I changed the master code. I deleted Liam's iPhone from authorized devices. I deleted the new guest Cassandra code he just created. Then I looked at the scene settings. I created a new scene, closing time. Action 1, turn off all interior lights. Action 2, lock all exterior doors. Action 3, set thermostat to 85 degrees. Action 4, turn off pool heater and pump. Action 5, activate intruder alert voice warning. Silent alarm to police disabled for now, just internal audio. I hovered my mouse over the activate button. My heart pounded, not with fear, but adrenaline. This was it. The moment I stopped being the victim. The moment I took back control. He wanted the house? He could have the house. But he was about to find out the house was a machine. And I held the remote. I pressed the button. On the screen, the lights instantly went black. The music cut out. Heads turned. Phone flashlights clicked on. Confusion. Then, on the banking tab, a notification, transaction attempted, Domino's Pizza for $150. Status, declined. Another attempt. Status, declined. I sat back in my hotel chair, letting out a breath I felt like I'd been holding for 4 years. The silence in the room was no longer heavy. It was the silence of a judge's gavel. I closed the laptop. The show was over for tonight. But tomorrow morning, that was when the real fireworks would begin. Morning broke with a brilliant, cruel sunshine that I knew was currently baking the interior of my house. I'd set the thermostat to 85 degrees last night, and with the windows likely closed to keep the noise in, it would be a sauna by now. I woke at 6:30 a.m. at the Four Seasons, feeling rested for the first time in months. I ordered a full breakfast, eggs Benedict, fresh fruit, a large pot of coffee. I ate slowly, savoring every bite, imagining the scene unfolding across town. At 7:15 a.m., my phone began to blow up. First, a text from Mrs. Jenkins, my neighbor across the street. She was the neighborhood watch captain, with eyes like a hawk. "Chloe, dear, are you okay? A tow truck just took the BMW out of the driveway. Looked very official. Also, trash cans knocked over everywhere." I smiled and texted back, "I'm fine, Martha. Just doing some spring cleaning. Keep watching." Then Liam's calls started. 7:20 a.m., missed call. 7:22 a.m., missed call. 7:25 a.m., missed call. I let them go to voicemail. I wanted him to marinate in his confusion. At 7:30 a.m., a text from Liam, internet down. Power acting weird. AC broken. Need router password. Where is the car? Service? He still didn't get it. He still thought these were accidents. He thought I was at my sister's, cooling off. He couldn't conceive of a world where I would strike back. I imagined him in the kitchen, hungover, a headache splitting his skull, reaching for the coffee maker, my Jersey 10, which cost $4,000. He'd press the button for a double espresso, but he wouldn't get coffee because I'd locked the machine through the app. The screen would just say, "Use not authorized." The pettiness of denying him caffeine felt incredibly satisfying. At 8 a.m., the panic set in. He tried to order breakfast. I got the Uber Eats notification on my iPad, still logged into the family account. Order failed. Payment method declined. He tried the backup card. Order failed. Payment method declined. Then a voicemail. I played it on speaker while finishing my tea. "Chloe, pick up the phone." Liam's voice was ragged, panic edging into anger. "The cards aren't working. The car is gone. Cassandra needs to get to work and she can't call an Uber. What did you do? This isn't funny. You can't just cut me off. I have rights. I'm your husband." "Not for long," I whispered. I decided to answer the next text, just to twist the knife. "Chloe, call me now. This is financial mistreatment." "Who is this?" I typed back. "I don't have a husband. I signed the papers, remember? I'm just a stranger, and strangers don't pay for your lifestyle." I could feel his rage through the network. At 8:30 a.m., the doorbell camera alerted me. Not the police, not a repairman. A courier. Liam opened the door, looking terrible, wrinkled boxers, t-shirt, messy hair. Behind him, the living room was a disaster zone, red cups, rug stains, Cassandra sleeping on the couch wrapped in a sheet. "Sir, for Liam." "Wilson?" the courier asked. "Yeah, that's me," Liam grunted, snatching the envelope. He probably thought it was the finalized divorce papers from his lawyer, or a check. He tore it open right there on the porch. I zoomed in. It wasn't a check. It was the formal notice from the Hayes Family Trust, with a letter from Eleanor Vance, printed on heavy, terrifyingly official letterhead. Liam read the first line. His shoulders stiffened. He read the second. His mouth dropped open. He looked up at the camera. He knew I was watching. He looked right into the lens, face pale, eyes wide with dawning horror. He didn't scream. He didn't rage. He just looked small. He turned, ran back into the house, tripping over the threshold, shouting for Cassandra to wake up. The realization had landed. The hangover was about to get a lot worse. Because in about 10 minutes, his phone was going to ring, and it was going to be the one person he thought was on his side. The call came at 8:45 a.m. I wasn't privy to it directly, but Eleanor recounted it to me later with gleeful precision. I got the gist, though, because Liam, in his panic, put it on speakerphone, pacing in the living room right under my high-fidelity security microphone. His lawyer, Marcus, was on the other end. Marcus, the man who advertised on daytime TV between soap operas. "Marcus, you have to fix this," Liam shouted, pacing amongst the red Solo cups. "She cut everything. The car is gone. And I just got this letter from her lawyer saying I'm trespassing. Trespassing in my own house." A pause. Then Marcus's voice erupted, so loud it distorted the speaker. "You idiot! You absolute colossal moron!" Liam stopped pacing. "What? Why are you yelling at me? You said we had her cornered. I just got the discovery file from her lawyer." Marcus screamed. "Do you have any idea what you just let her do? Do you know what you signed yesterday?" "I signed the postnup." "The one you wrote?" Liam stammered, looking at Cassandra, who was now sitting up, terrified. "It gives me the house." "It gives you nothing," Marcus roared. "The house isn't hers, Liam. The house belongs to the Hayes Family Trust. The company belongs to the trust. She doesn't own them individually, so she can't sign them over to you." "I don't understand," Liam mumbled, sinking onto the sofa. "What does that mean?" "It means you forced her to sign a document transferring ownership of an asset you already waived rights to 2 years ago." Marcus was hyperventilating. "Her lawyer sent me the waiver you signed. You acknowledged the trust, and now by forcing her to sign this transfer under threat of divorce, you have officially committed documentary fraud. You attempted to extort a trust asset. That is a felony, Liam. A felony." Liam's face went gray. But she signed it. She agreed. She baited you." Marcus shrieked. "She handed you a loaded gun, pointed it at your head, and you pulled the trigger. Her lawyer is talking about pressing charges for extortion and fraud. They have recordings, Liam. They have texts. They have the video of you live streaming from the house claiming ownership. You confessed on Facebook Live. Fix it." Liam begged, his voice cracking. "Just tell them it was a mistake. Tell them I didn't know. I can't fix a felony." Marcus yelled. "I'm dropping you as a client. I am not losing my license because you decided to play tycoon with a shark like Chloe Hayes. You are on your own. My advice, get out of that house right now before the cops show up." Click. The line went dead. The silence in the living room was absolute. The only sound was the refrigerator's hum and Cassandra's shallow breathing. Liam dropped the phone. It clattered. He looked at Cassandra. He dropped me," Liam whispered. Cassandra stood, pulling the sheet tighter. "What does that mean, Liam? Do we get the house or not?" Liam looked at her, and for the first time, I saw hate in his eyes. Not for me, but for her. For the distraction, for the greed she'd fueled. "There is no house," Liam said, his voice hollow. "It's a trust. It was never hers to give." "So, you're broke?" Cassandra asked, her voice losing all softness. "Like, actually broke?" "I'm worse than broke," Liam laughed, a manic, high-pitched sound. "I'm about to be arrested." He ran his hands through his hair. "We have to go." Marcus said to leave. "We have to pack." Cassandra took a step back. "I'm not going anywhere with you if the cops are coming." "I have a career, Liam. I'm an influencer." "You're a part-time trainer who hasn't paid rent in 3 months." Liam snapped. "Pack your bags. We're going to my mom's." "I am not going to your mother's trailer." Cassandra shrieked. I sat back in my hotel chair, sipping my tea. It was unraveling faster than I'd anticipated. The rats were turning on each other. Then my phone buzzed again. Front gate security system, visitor Brenda Wilson. Visitor Heather Wilson. The flying monkeys had arrived. They must have seen the Facebook live stream or heard the panic in Liam's earlier calls. They were coming to claim their share of the victory. I watched the feed as Heather's beat-up Honda, the one I paid for, rolled up the driveway. "This," I said to myself, "is going to be entertaining." Brenda and Heather burst in like they were raiding a buffet. Brenda wore a floral muumuu, Heather already held a cigarette, ash falling onto my foyer floor. "Where is the champagne?" Brenda boomed, arms spread wide. "My son, the homeowner. We saw the video, Liam. Finally, you put that stuck-up woman in her place." Liam was in the middle of the living room, frantically throwing clothes into a garbage bag. He looked up, wild-eyed. "Shut up, Mom," he hissed. Brenda froze. "Excuse me? Is that how you talk to the woman who birthed you? There is no house." Liam screamed, throwing shoes into the bag. "It's over. She tricked me. The cops are coming." Heather dropped her cigarette. "What do you mean she tricked you? You said she signed the papers." "The papers are worthless," Liam yelled. "It's all a trust. I'm broke, Mom. I have nothing. The car is gone. The accounts are frozen. And I'm facing jail time for fraud." Brenda's face transformed instantly. The pride vanished, replaced by a cold, calculating sneer. "You mean you didn't get the money?" she asked slowly. "No." "And you don't get the company?" "No." Brenda looked at Heather. "I told you he would screw it up. He never had the head for business." "Mom!" Liam looked betrayed. "I need help. I need a place to stay. Can we come to your place, just for a few weeks until I sort this out?" Brenda looked at Cassandra, who was frantically texting on the sofa. "I don't have room for you and your mistress." "Hey!" Cassandra shouted. "And I certainly don't have room for a son who's going to bring the police to my doorstep." Brenda sniffed. "I run a respectable bingo night. I can't have felons sleeping on my couch." "You're abandoning me?" Liam asked, his voice breaking. "After everything I gave you. I bought Heather that car. I paid off your gambling debts. With Chloe's money," Heather pointed out unhelpfully. "Technically, you didn't give us anything." "She did. So, call her." Liam begged. Call Chloe. She likes you guys. Maybe she'll listen to you. Tell her. I'm having a breakdown. Tell her to call off the lawyers. Brenda hesitated. She pulled out her phone. I watched on my screen as my own phone started ringing. Call her, Brenda Wilson. I stared at it. I let it ring. Then I blocked the number. On the screen, Brenda looked at her phone, annoyed. She sent me to voicemail. She blocked you, you old bat. Cassandra snapped. She stood, holding one of my Louis Vuitton tote bags, stuffed. Where are you going? Liam asked, reaching for her. I'm leaving, Cassandra said. My Uber is here. What's in the bag, Cass? Heather asked, eyes narrowing. Just my stuff, Cassandra said quickly, clutching the bag tighter. That's Chloe's bag. Liam realized. And it looks heavy. What did you take? It's my compensation. Cassandra yelled. For wasting 6 months of my life with a loser. She tried to bolt. Liam grabbed her arm. Heather grabbed the bag. The three wrestled in the hallway, screaming obscenities. The bag ripped open. My jewelry spilled out, my grandmother's pearls, my diamond tennis bracelet, several expensive watches. You thief! Brenda shrieked. Those are valuable. Let go of me! Cassandra screamed, scratching Liam's face. Suddenly, the front door burst open. It wasn't the police yet. It was Mrs. Jenkins, my neighbor, holding her phone up, recording. I've called the sheriff. Mrs. Jenkins announced gleefully. And I have you all on video stealing Miss Hayes's property. The police are 2 minutes away. The room froze. Cassandra looked at the spilled jewelry. Liam looked at Mrs. Jenkins. Brenda looked at the exit. Run! Cassandra screamed. She abandoned the jewelry, shoved past Liam, and sprinted for the waiting Uber. Brenda and Heather didn't wait. They ran to their car. Mom, wait! Liam yelled, running after them. I watched as the Honda peeled out, leaving Liam standing alone on the lawn, barefoot, holding a garbage bag of clothes, while Mrs. Jenkins filmed him with a look of pure judgment. He was alone, completely, utterly alone. And then I saw the flashing lights of the sheriff's cruiser turning the corner. I timed my arrival perfectly. I wanted to be there when the official seal was placed on the door, but not part of the brawl. I pulled my rental car to the curb just as Deputy Miller stepped out of his cruiser. Eleanor pulled up behind me in her black Porsche, looking impeccable, holding a leather folder. We walked up the driveway together. Liam sat on the front steps, head in his hands. He looked up when he heard our heels on the pavement. His eyes were red, his face scratched from the scuffle with Cassandra. When he saw me, he stood, a flicker of hope crossing his desperate face. Chloe, he choked out. Thank God. You have to stop this. They're treating me like a criminal. Tell them it's a misunderstanding. Tell them we're married. I stopped 10 feet away. I adjusted my sunglasses. I didn't look angry. I looked bored. We are married, Liam, I said calmly. For now. But you are also trespassing on trust property, and Deputy Miller is here to escort you off the premises. Trespassing? Liam laughed, a hysterical, broken sound. I live here. My clothes are in the closet. We had dinner here last night. Correction, Eleanor stepped forward, her voice sharp as a razor. You broke into a property managed by the Hayes Family Trust. You have no lease. You have no deed. You have no rights. She handed the deputy a file. Officer, here is the restraining order granted by Judge Riley this morning. citing domestic disturbance, attempted fraud, and theft. Also included is the eviction notice, effective immediately. Deputy Miller nodded. He was a stern man who had known my father. He looked at Liam with undisguised contempt. "Mr. Wilson," the deputy said, "you have 30 minutes to collect your personal essentials. That means clothes and toiletries. No electronics, no valuables, no furniture. Then you need to vacate the property. If you return, you will be arrested." "Where am I supposed to go?" Liam cried, looking at me. "Chloe, please. I have nowhere. My mom left me. Cassandra stole from me. My cards don't work." "That sounds like a you problem," I said. He took a step toward me. "I'm your husband. I loved you. I got lost. I got scared about our future. Please, baby, let's just talk inside. Just us. We can fix this." He was trying the charm. The puppy dog eyes. The soft voice that used to make me melt. Now it just made me nauseous. "You didn't love me, Liam," I said, my voice steady and loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "You loved the lifestyle I provided. You loved the safety. And yesterday, when you thought you had stripped me of everything, you didn't offer to fix it. You told me to get out." I took a step closer, removing my sunglasses so he could see my eyes. "You said, sign or get out." I signed. "Now it's your turn. Get out." Liam stared at me. He looked for weakness, for hesitation. He found none. He slumped. The fight went out of him. He turned and walked into the house, Deputy Miller trailing close behind to ensure he didn't steal the silverware. I stood on the lawn. Mrs. Jenkins was still on her porch. She gave me a thumbs up. I gave her a small, tired wave. 30 minutes later, Liam emerged, carrying 2 garbage bags and a box of protein powder. That was it. Years of marriage, reduced to trash bags. "Here," I said, tossing something onto the grass at his feet. He looked down. It was a prepaid burner phone. "Your cell service is terminated," I said. "This has 60 minutes on it. Use it too. Call a shelter or a friend. Don't call me." He looked at the phone, then at me. "You planned this. You planned this whole thing." "I prepared," I corrected. "You plotted. There's a difference." "I'll get a lawyer," he spat, trying to muster one last shred of dignity. "I'll sue you for half." "You already have a lawyer," Eleanor smiled. "Oh, wait. Marcus quit, didn't he? Good luck finding another one who'll take a fraud case on a contingency basis." Deputy Miller stepped forward. "Time to go, Mr. Wilson. Move along." Liam picked up his bags. He began the long walk down the driveway. He didn't have a car. He didn't have a ride. He just started walking down the street, dragging his bags as the neighbors watched. I watched him go until he turned the corner. "Are you okay?" Eleanor asked, touching my arm. I took a deep breath. The air smelled like freshly cut grass and victory. "I'm better than okay," I said. "I'm free." The image of Liam Wilson walking down the street of our exclusive gated community, dragging black garbage bags like a hobo, became instant folklore. I didn't watch it personally, I went inside to inspect the damage. But the video footage from the community cameras and Mrs. Jenkins' Facebook page painted a vivid picture. He walked for 2 miles, tried to hail a cab, sat on a bus bench, ironically, one with an ad for Marcus's law firm, and called his brother in Indiana. His brother hung up. He called his golf buddy, Paul, who said he couldn't get involved. Finally, a rusty pickup truck pulled up. It was his mother, Brenda. She come back, not out of love, but because she likely realized he was her only, failed, retirement plan. The footage showed Brenda screaming at him as he threw his bags into the truck bed. She slapped the back of his head as he got in. They drove off in a cloud of exhaust. Back inside the house, the reality of the violation hit me. The living room smelled of stale beer and cheap perfume. Cigarette burns on my Persian rug. The Chateau Margaux was a sticky purple stain on the travertin. But it was the bedroom that hurt the most. I walked into the master suite. The bed unmade, pillows on the floor, Cassandra's makeup wipes scattered on my vanity. It felt violated, dirty. I stood there, looking at the bed where I'd slept for 4 years, where I'd tried so hard to be a good wife. Eleanor walked in. "We can get a cleaning crew in here within the hour. Biohazard level, if you want." "Yes," I said. But first, I walked to the bed. I stripped the sheets, pulled off the duvet cover, grabbed the pillows. "I'm burning these," I said. "Chloe, those are Egyptian cotton," Eleanor warned. "I don't care if they're spun from gold," I said, bunching them in my arms. They touched him. They touched her. They have to go. I carried the bundle out to the fire pit in the backyard, piled the expensive linens into the stone circle, doused them with lighter fluid from the garage, and lit a match. The flames caught instantly. I watched the fabric curl and blacken, smoke rising into the afternoon sky. It was a primal ritual. With every thread that burned, I felt lighter. I wasn't just burning sheets. I was burning the lies, the gaslighting, the feeling of not being enough. "Goodbye, Liam," I whispered. My phone rang. It was Brooke, my executive assistant. "Chloe," she said, her voice professional but excited. "I just got off the phone with the bank. They finished the audit of the unauthorized transfers Liam made over the last 2 years. It totals $342,000. Filed a claim," I said, watching the fire. "And," Brooke continued, "the police just called. They found Cassandra. She tried to pawn your tennis bracelet at a shop downtown. She's in custody." "Good," I said. "Press charges, maximum penalty." "And Liam? What about him?" "He's been blowing up the office line. Says he wants to negotiate a settlement." I laughed. A genuine, full-throated laugh. "Tell him the only settlement he's getting is the one he signed yesterday. The one where he waived everything." I hung up. The fire was dying down to embers. I turned back to the house. My house. It was dirty. It was messy. And it carried the ghosts of a bad marriage. But the structure was sound. The foundation was strong, just like me. The next 3 days were a flurry of activity, but it was the good kind of busy. It was the busy of reclamation. I hired a heavy-duty industrial cleaning crew. "Scrub everything," I told them. "Walls, floors, ceilings. I want every skin cell of Liam Wilson eradicated." While they worked, I went to the storage room. When Liam moved in, he'd insisted on modernizing the house, calling my style cluttered and sentimental. He made me pack away my father's book collection, my grandmother's antique tea sets, framed photos of my college graduation. He replaced them with cold abstract art and empty surfaces. "Minimalism is the mindset of success," he'd preached. Now, I dragged the boxes out. I unpacked my father's leather-bound Hemingways and Steinbecks. I touched the worn covers, smelled the old paper. I placed them back on the shelves, filling the empty spaces Liam had left. I unpacked the photos. There was me, 22 years old, smiling in my cap and gown, arm around my dad. I looked happy. I looked ambitious. "I missed you," I told the girl in the photo. I realized how much of myself I had packed away to make room for Liam's ego. I had made myself smaller, quieter, blander, just so he wouldn't feel threatened by my success. Never again. On the third day, I walked into the garage. Liam's home gym was there, thousands of dollars of equipment, a Pilates machine, weights, a bench press he barely used. I called a local charity for at-risk youth. Take it all, I told them. Whatever you can't use, sell. Seeing the gym empty out was incredibly satisfying. In its place, I parked my new car, a Porsche Cayenne. I'd traded in the BMW. I didn't want the car he had driven. I wanted something new, something that was just mine. That evening, I sat in my newly reclaimed living room. The air smelled of lemon and sage. The shelves were filled with my books. The terrible abstract art was gone, replaced by landscapes I loved. I poured a glass of wine, not the Chateau Margaux he'd destroyed, but a crisp Sauvignon Blanc. I opened my journal. I hadn't written in it for years because Liam used to read it. Day 1 of freedom, I wrote. I am 52 years old. I am single. I am wealthy. And I am awake. My phone buzzed. An email from Eleanor. Subject, update on Wilson versus Hayes. Chloe, just a heads up. Marcus has officially withdrawn as Liam's counsel. Liam is now being represented by a public defender for the fraud charges. Also, he has filed for bankruptcy. It seems the empire was mostly debt. I closed the email. I felt a twinge of pity, but it was distant, like watching a character in a movie make bad choices. He'd had every opportunity, a wife who supported him, a safe home, a comfortable life. But he got greedy. He wanted the golden goose. So he cut it open, only to find nothing inside but his own reflection. I took a sip of wine. The house was quiet. No TV blaring sports, no complaints about food, no gaslighting. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. 6 months later, I stood in the back of a courtroom, wearing a suit that cost more than Liam's car, if he had one. I didn't have to be there. The divorce was finalized weeks ago via mediation, which Liam attended via Zoom from his mother's kitchen table. But today was the hearing for the fraud charges and the civil suit I'd filed for restitution. Liam sat at the defendant's table. He looked diminished, lost weight, but not in a healthy way. His suit was ill-fitting, likely thrifted. His hair, once perfectly styled, was thinning, dull. He didn't see me at first, too busy arguing with his public defender in a hushed, frantic whisper. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Evans, entered. Mr. Wilson, she began, looking over her glasses, we have reviewed the evidence, the bank records, the video footage, the signed documents. It is the opinion of this court that you engaged in a systematic pattern of financial deception. Liam stood. Your Honor, I was just borrowing the funds. I intended to pay it back. My wife, my ex-wife, she misunderstood. You spent $342,000 on luxury items, travel, and a mistress, while contributing nothing to the marital estate, the judge read from the file. You then attempted to coerce Miss Hayes into signing over trust assets through intimidation. That is not a misunderstanding, sir. That is predation. The gavel banged, making him jump. Judgment is found in favor of the plaintiff. You are ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $342,000. Additionally, regarding the criminal charge of attempted fraud, you are sentenced to 500 hours of community service and 3 years of probation. Any violation will result in immediate incarceration. Liam slumped. I can't pay that. I have no job. I have no money. Then I suggest you get a job, Mr. Wilson, the judge said coldly. Garnishments will be applied to any future wages. As the bailiff led him out, he finally saw me. He stopped. The room fell silent. He looked at me with a mixture of hatred and longing. I think, in his twisted mind, he still thought he could talk his way out of it. Chloe, he said. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him. Looked at the man who called me an old hag, who planned to break me. "Are you happy?" he asked, his voice bitter. "You ruined my life." I stepped forward, my heels clicking on the floor. "I didn't ruin your life, Liam," I said, my voice calm, carrying across the room. "I just stopped paying for it." I turned and walked out. Outside, the air was crisp. It was autumn, leaves were turning gold. Cassandra took a plea deal, guilty of petty theft, probation. She moved back to her hometown in Indiana. Her Instagram deleted after the internet found out. Liam was living in his mother's basement, working part-time at a car wash. And me? My company just had its best quarter. I launched a new line of home decor. And I had a date tonight. Not with a man, but with myself, a cooking class in Italy. I was leaving tomorrow for a month in Provence, the trip Liam promised but never delivered. I was going alone, and I couldn't wait. The night before I left for Provence, I hosted a party. Not networking, not a gala. A dinner party for the people who stood by me. My grandmother's china was set. Candles lit. Eleanor was there, laughing with champagne. Brooke, now VP of Operations. Mrs. Jenkins, telling the great trash bag walk of shame story for the 10th time, adding dramatic flair. And Mr. Anderson, the private investigator, stopped by for a drink. To Chloe. Eleanor raised her glass. The woman who proved the best revenge isn't just living well, but living free. Here, everyone cheered. I looked around. These were people who respected me for my character, not my money. "I have a toast," I said, standing. The room quieted. For a long time, I began, looking at the flickering candles. I thought I needed someone to complete the picture of my life. I thought a big house was empty without a husband. I thought success was lonely without a partner. I paused, smiling at my friends. But I learned that the only thing worse than being alone is being with someone who makes you feel alone. I learned that my value isn't negotiable. And I learned that I am pretty terrified of anyone who tries to take my grandmother's house. Laughter rippled. So, here's to empty spaces. I raised my glass, because empty spaces are just room for new beginnings. Here's to the trust, and here's to never, ever signing anything without reading it first. We clinked glasses. The sound was like a bell tolling the start of a new era. After dinner, I walked onto the terrace. The city lights twinkled. I thought about Liam one last time. He was probably sitting in the dark somewhere, blaming the world. He would never understand. He would never get it. He thought he lost because of a lawyer or a prenup. He lost because he underestimated the quiet strength of a woman who built her own castle. I took a deep breath of the cool night air. I felt lighter than I had in years. The nightmare was over. The story of Chloe and Liam was finished. But the story of Chloe Hayes? That was just beginning. What would you have done if you were in Chloe's position?